The next step in the process of getting your clinic going is the actual design and setup of the clinic itself. Let's talk about the various aspects of this. But the first thing you want to do after you've secured your location, you have your list of your wants and your needs, and you put that together, and obviously you probably have a floor plan for your place of business. I recommend actually playing around with that floor plan before you start bringing stuff into the rooms, and lay out the best way to put that stuff into the room. So let's work through that specifically. You want to work first on the design of your reception area. You want to make sure it's accessible, that it's nice, it's not overcluttered. If you have somebody at your reception desk who's a messy person, that will reflect poorly on your business. So keep it clean, keep it simple. If you do need to have a lot of stuff out, make sure you have cubbies for those kinds of things to put away throughout the day. But make it approachable and nice. You also want to deal with the design of the waiting room itself. And the reception and waiting room may be in the same spot. Typically they are. But really control the lighting. You want to make sure the lighting is controlled. There's enough light to read, but not so bright that it feels like it's a surgery center, right? You want to have a nice lighting, nice paint, nice decor. But in that office, it's also very important that you control sound. Now, I've actually been to numerous offices where the doctors will put a stereo or a radio or something right up against the common wall between the reception area, waiting area, and one of the treatment rooms, because as that doctor is discussing personal information, they don't want to have that heard through the wall. When I opened up my office years ago with a doctor in Olympia, there was a mother who had dropped her daughter off and was waiting in the reception area. The daughter was going in for an exam, and the nurse started talking to her about her sexual history. And as this girl is revealing the truth about her personal habits, the mother is horrified as she's hearing this information through the wall. And that's family, and that causes some serious problems. And that doctor put some sound, radio, right away. As soon as that happened, the next day he had that in place. But you don't want to have your client's personal information being heard through the walls, or that person's dealing with something and they're sharing that with you, and that can be heard through the wall. You don't want to have that. So either insulate it properly, or maybe change the common wall, or make sure there's some way to help baffle that sound. So between a sound maker of some sort, like I said, music, there's also ways to even take 1x1 wood, go to the fabric store and buy some baffling type of material, soft material they use for fill, and you'll want to put cloth over that and make a nice decorative wall hanging out of a decorative cloth that absorbs sound. So look at different ways to do that. You can read about that online and find numerous ways to control sound. When it comes to your treatment rooms, you really want to think this one through. If you're doing a spa type work, you want to have maybe a separate prep area for all of your salt scrubs and whatever else you're going to be using. So you'll lay your room out specifically for the type of massage room you're going to have. Most people are going to be doing general massage work, and in that case, you're going to want to have available to you some key things. Obviously, a place for your lotions. You don't want to have your lotion on the floor. You want to have a place for that. You want to have a clock. You want to have a chair for the client to sit on. You want a stool for you to use. And by the way, if you have a stool in your office and that stool has 4 wheels, get rid of it. You want a 5-wheel stool. OSHA has not made an official decision on that. They have made a recommendation, but 4-wheel stools are fine for you. But if your client sits on that stool and they go to put their shoes on, they bend over, and that stool will flip on them because it has 4 wheels. It's almost impossible to flip a 5-wheel stool when the seat is smaller than the wheelbase itself. So 5-wheel stools are very, very important. Your client's going to want to sit on something to put their shoes back on. Ideally, you'll have a chair for them as well. But your table, a place for linens in the room, a cupboard that you will close and keep that separate. Maybe something to put your soiled linens in. If it's going to be in the room itself, it needs to be covered. You want to have that. You want to have a garbage can and those kinds of things. I recommend, too, if you want to open that area up and make it feel bigger, if it's a smaller room, some people will put mirror on the walls, and so that person, it just feels larger, but plus you can show them things in the mirror about their posture. So if you're contacting a glass company to put that in for you, maybe a whole wall full of mirror, it's not as bad as you think from a cost standpoint, but again, shop around with that. But design your room in such a way that it's easy for the client to get into, easy for our clients to get on the table, to get undressed, a place to put their clothes, and make sure it's clean. People just get really disgusted when they see dust and stuff in the corners of a room because it wasn't cleaned properly, but have that clean for them. From a heating standpoint, you want to have separate heat controls for each room. Ideally, if not, you might need a space heater in the room. If you're going to be having hydrotherapy work, maybe ice cups, in our clinics, we spent money so each room had its own small freezer, a dedicated small freezer only, not the refrigerators with a small freezer compartment, but an actual dedicated freezer for ice, and it works easier. We weren't leaving the room that way to help the clients out. Ideally, you'll have an office in your office. You have a place for your computer, desk, and such. It's nice to have that out of the way of your clients, not to be seen that constantly. If you're in a very small space, yes, sometimes you're going to have a desk in the very treatment room you're working on. And if that's the case, please make sure you have a locking file cabinet so people can't peruse through your files. I've even had people steal their own file when that was available to them so they wouldn't have any record of what happened. So just be careful. Make sure you have a locking file cabinet. If you do have a computer, there's a small hook on most computers, a way to lock that computer down to the desk. And it sounds like you shouldn't have to worry about that, but really you should. From a laptop standpoint, there's a security hook system with a lock. Have one of those in place. Make sure also that your system is password protected. So when you turn the computer on or the person wakes it back up, there's a password required to access that computer. Just from a HIPAA standpoint and client confidentiality, it's very important. But in your office area in general, keep it clean. From a public standpoint, if a person sees a completely messy therapist, it's just unsettling for them. They want to make sure they come into a place that feels restful and peaceful, even for injury treatment work. So take the time to make your office look, appearance-wise, have it look nice. From a bathroom standpoint, for your clinic, you'll want to have a accessible bathroom. If it's a public facility, you need to have an ADA compliant bathroom, and that typically means you're going to have a 5-foot radius for a wheelchair. You can read online about the ADA requirements, but do have a compliance office for accessibility, because if someone comes into you sometime in a wheelchair and it's not set up, they can throw a fit and have the government come after you for not providing for them what they actually need to have access to your facility. You want to check also with local codes before you even start to open your office up. See if there's anything you should be aware of. Go down to the building departments if you need to. Go down to the city hall and ask about your structure, ask about your access requirements by city. You also want to check with having a good cleaning service, whether you do it yourself, but have someone sterilize that. But also have in your rooms, you're going to want to have wipes designed for keeping germs at bay. And these aren't the little handy wipes that you might use. They actually have medical grade wipes that will kill some serious diseases on contact. Keep those out of reach of your clientele. I had a woman once come into my office, and I turned around and she was taking her makeup off with a cloth designed to kill AIDS on contact, designed to kill herpes on contact. It was designed for face cradles when she was wiping makeup off with this toxic stuff. So please keep that out of reach of your clients, but make sure you have a way to clean that up. You might want to use a spray bottle, for example, with a good cleaning solvent to keep those surfaces clean. In Washington State, we have a requirement to have a surface impervious to oil directly beneath our sheet on our table. And it sounds odd, why would they have that in the law? Well, the reason is this. If I have one of those nifty fuzzy covers, so maybe a lamb's wool type cover, beneath the sheet on my massage table, and a client comes in and he's all sweaty, and he's on my sheet and he's oozing sweat in through the sheet into that material, that lamb's wool, I take the sheet off, toss it in laundry, put a fresh sheet on top. The next client comes in and that stuff oozes right back through the cloth and into that person, onto their skin. That's not very sanitary. So if you're going to use those kinds of materials, if you're going to have those soft, fuzzy materials beneath your sheet, you need to clean them every single time the client comes in. And you actually need to use bleach. If you want to sterilize those cloths and you want to sanitize them from a standpoint of bacteria, you need to use bleach and hot water. So be careful of that. If you want to have a soft, fuzzy table, buy a better quality table, but be careful of the standpoint of the impervious surface and making sure it's directly beneath your sheet. You'll also want to make sure that there's supplies in the bathrooms themselves. If a client is embarrassed because the toilet backs up, have a plunger. Have those kinds of things available in the rooms. Extra toilet paper. This sounds like, why was he putting this on this video? Well, it's important. Most therapists don't think about having all of the supplies right there in the bathroom for your client's needs. When it comes to furnishings, I think one of the biggest mistakes therapists make is they go out and they buy all new everything. They buy a brand new desk, they buy brand new chairs, they buy brand new decorations. Everything's brand new, and it can be very, very expensive. I mean, I know I've spent on brand new office chairs later in my career as we had the money to do so. Just one reception chair was $500 for one chair, a very simple chair, but they're high quality, but they cost more. So in most business communities, there are companies that sell furnishings that have a used department where they take people's old stuff and put it in there and they'll sell it to you at a discount. So it's kind of a used sale department that you'd see maybe at Goodwill, but it's actually for business equipment and business furniture. So I bought some amazing desks at those locations that look brand new, that some company decide, you know what, I don't want this anymore, and you can buy some things in those furnishings at a discounted price. So ask around for used business furniture locations in your area, and you can save a ton of money. I mentioned this earlier that, I've had two people I know of that have borrowed a significant amount of money, and both of them put the best of the best in their offices, and they both went bankrupt. They spent so much money making the appearance of success that they didn't have a clientele to support it, and they ended up using money they borrowed to live on, and they went bankrupt. So I don't want to see that happen to you. Live frugally. Don't have a lot of stuff in your office, and slowly build that over time, but don't start off by buying everything you need right up front. If it's not necessary, don't have it right away. Again, I'll say it again, the two most important ways to make an office look nice is quality of lighting and quality color of paint. You can change the image, not even have any art on your walls, and still have a nice feel for your office just based on light and paint. Next, you want to deal with the paint color itself. There's some psychology involved in your office design, and paint color makes a difference. So do some research on that. You might be surprised what pink will do versus blue versus yellow or orange or browns. But it will change how the client feels. Even it changes how warm they feel. Yellow walls will make people feel warmer as if you turn the heat up for them. So check into the psychology of that, and be careful of colors that are too cold, because it can be depressing, and it can make the client actually feel more in pain just from the color of paint. Other things you'll want to consider when setting your office up would be things such as just simple decorations. I've gone to places like Ross and found some great things where they had maybe one or two left, and they were selling things that would cost quite a bit for decorations for pennies on the dollar. So find some options like that, and even Goodwill. You'll find some things at used places for decoration. But setting your office up, obviously you need to have a computer. You need to have a printer handy for that. When it comes to scanners, you don't necessarily have to have a scanner. If you're going to be faxing on occasion, my daughter yesterday called me up and she said I have to fax this document to my insurance company. I had her send me a picture with her phone to my phone. I took that picture and I used my fax app and I faxed it to the insurance company. So it went from my phone right to their desktop fax machine. So faxes are really something from yesteryear. They're getting very old, but so many companies use them, especially attorneys and insurance companies. So you may need to have access to some way to have faxability. And all my fax work now is online. I use metrofax.com. I pay a monthly fee. It's less than $10 a month, and I have access to faxing both in my office as well as on my phone. Next thing you want to do is have someone available for IT support, someone to help you with your computers, and have that person in place before you need them. Ask around, get referrals, find somebody who can help you by phone, someone who possibly can log into your computer from afar. They can log in from the road, and they can maybe help you out with your computer. But have somebody on the speed dial you can deal with when something goes wrong, because your business, if it depends on your computer, you need to have access to that, and make sure you have someone on call who can help you out when something goes wrong. Again, phones, not just the equipment, but your phone numbers. If you want to have phone numbers that are interesting, that say something, or those are more expensive sometimes to have that, but you want to have a good phone number. The idea of toll-free numbers is kind of getting passé, because most people don't pay for long distance anymore with the advent of cell phones. Even my business service has zero cost for long distance now. So toll-free numbers aren't necessary anymore. Plus they cost you money, not your client. Next, you want to deal with appointment making systems, and whether that's a simple paper book. If you do use a paper log for your appointment making, and that's fine in your office if you want to have that, I recommend that every day, at the end of the day, you take photographs of the next month with your phone. Just scan the week and take a picture with your phone, and have some kind of a backup of that book. I recommend, instead of having that, perhaps an online portal for your appointments. There are some automated systems out there. Do some research and see who's current at the moment for online. Ask your friends or therapists what they're using. But there's a number of appointment making software programs. If you do use that, you want to have a system available for new clients and current clients, and they often will have a way they'll tell the person, this appointment's not secure until we confirm it with you. And that way, if you see somebody who you don't want a massage, or you see somebody who is new, you can make sure you interview them prior. It doesn't let anybody make an appointment for sure immediately. So just have a way to do that. Some people will like to use the Google Calendar. It's free. You can go online. You can have a calendar that you can access from any device. So you make a change on your phone, it appears on the desktop as well. So if you have a receptionist or other therapists sharing that room, they would have a master calendar to access as well. And those are free. So again, there's many other things you should take into account when opening up your office, but make a list of what your needs are for the type of massage you're doing, and make sure you have that checklist and you work through that before you open up your actual office. But think about design, think about floor plan, think about flow, and think about your daily needs as far as what you have to do day in and day out, and does that office accommodate your needs to make that happen?